Welcome everyone to the Jerusalem Institute of Justice's screening of Screams Before Silence. This is Sheryl Sandberg's documentary on the sexual violence perpetrated by Hamas against Israeli women on October 7th. We are joined tonight by our CEO, Flavia Siwald. Welcome, Flavia.
Thank you, Monique. I want to thank everyone for being here, for having the courage to attend this and witness this webinar tonight. This is a difficult topic to all of us and to focus on, especially for anyone who has been a survivor of sexual violence or who knows someone who is.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Now, before we show the documentary, there is some very sobering footage that was just released yesterday. So can you tell us a bit about this new footage?
Yes, yesterday the Hostage and Missing Families Forum released a video of the Tatzvitaniot with the permission of their families. These Tatzvitaniot are young female soldiers whose job is to watch the surveillance cameras on the border with Gaza. This is a very unglamorous but very important job within the IDF, as these women serve as the eyes and ears of the Israeli army. This job also places them directly on the border with Gaza. And on the morning of October 7, they were in their post in Nir Oz when Hamas swarmed their base and murdered most of their fellow soldiers. So this footage shows some harrowing moments in when these girls were captured.
Okay, Flavia, if you could mute yourself, I'm going to take a moment and pull it up.
Thank you.
يا كلاب والله لا ندعس عليكم يا كلاب.
يا شباب يا عم بالراحه يا عم. ما حدش فوق. صوروا
Someone who speak English.
Okay. Please, watch. Watch this station, please. Sit down.
ولك اخواتنا ماتوا من وراكم وانا لم اخذكم كلكم.
That's what you mean?
What?
I don't know
What? Again.
Who you want to call? What?
Number again. Gonna call my friend who's Gaza. Why?
I swear. What?
Where from?
What?
Where from?
No.
يا رب نصرنا.
والله معانا إذا رجعنا إن شاء الله.
هاي السماء هاي الهمة. لا طلع ايوه طلع. بعرفش.
ايوه
هذا ولا حاجة للسالم.
That was really awful to watch.
It really was. There has been some controversy since this video was released. There are some Arabic speakers who have taken issue with the translation of the word sabaya in the captions. We saw in the video a Hamas terrorist saying, "Hi sabay," which is translated in the caption as the one you can get pregnant. Flavia, you're a student of so many languages. Can you explain what that means, that phrase?
Yes, this is actually not an innocent expression. Within Islam, there is a school of thinking that says that women who are captured in war can be lawfully treated as slaves. They can be treated, given to and traded to other men. They can be raped. The men who rape them are legally entitled to keep their children born by them. It is all lawful according to the extremist interpretations of Islam. We saw when Boko Haram took hundreds of Nigerian schoolgirls captive, they treated them as sabaya. The Islamic State saw the Yazidi women, they captured as sabaya as well. They traded them in the markets of Raqqa and Mosul. They passed them from men to men, and we all know how that went, unfortunately.
I think the fact that Hamas's supporters are dying on the hill of "that's not what sabaya means" is really telling about their movement's true intentions.
True. And so let's go now to watch our full documentary.
Okay, I'll just let everybody know that the documentary runs about 56 minutes. We're going to watch it together. And then when it concludes, Flavia and I will return for some questions and answers. So you can feel free to enter your questions through the Q&A function as they come up, or you can save them for the end. So please just give us a moment and we will show you Screams Before Silence. Flavia, that is always so hard to watch for me as an American Jewish woman. Talk to us about what it's like for you as an Israeli woman.
It is, I can't tell you how hard it is. And we at JIJ have been very well aware of the extent of Hamas atrocities since the earliest day of this war. Only a few weeks into the war, we received an extensive photo database from Zaka. It looks like they show some of the same footage to Sheryl Sandberg in this documentary. Some of those photos show detailed forensic evidence. It's really hard. In December, we took a delegation of Zaka first responders to the United Nations headquarters in Geneva. This was a husband and wife team who we interviewed in a previous webinar here. And Nachman, the husband, had personally handled the bodies of a victim who had scissors and other objects stabbed in her pelvic region. His wife, Valerie, had the presence of mind to take photographs of the woman's body before putting her in a body bag. It was quite powerful to take the person who handled the body, the person who took the pictures and the photos themselves to present to senior United Nations officials and ambassadors from several countries. For all of them, this was the first time seeing this type of evidence, and it affected them all viscerally, like it affects us really every day. So this is a long way of saying that we knew and believed this information, but watching it presented in a form of a documentary hits me in a different way, and it's always really, really hard. So it brings home how much our sense of security was shattered on October 7, an intense feeling of anger and despair. This documentary makes clear in a very effective way that Hamas sexual violence was systematic and intentional. They came with manuals in their pockets, maps of people's home and neighborhoods, list of name, ages, nationalities.
So why did they choose rape, and why would they rape and murder so many women? What purpose does that serve?
It serves, like in the documentary, it says the purpose was to dehumanize us, to humiliate, to cut the core of who we are as Jewish people, to shred the bonds of intimacy with families, to terrorize us.
There's been so much denial surrounding this issue, and we've had a front seat to that as JIJ because we have the United Nations consultative status. But what's your theory? Why is there so much denial?
Well, I can't explain people's motivations, but I was truly shocked by the level of gaslighting from people who really should have known better. JJ was actually one of the first Israeli organizations to approach UN Women on this topic specifically. In the world, when Boko Haram kidnapped the Chibok girls in Nigeria, it only took UN Women 3 days to put together a statement and condemning it. But in face of Hamas attacks on Israeli women, they were silent for 50 days. It was when we took our delegation to visit to Geneva that they finally made a tepid statement. And so then in January, we learned that the UN Secretary General was going to send Pramila Pattern, his special representative on sexual violence and in an armed conflict, to Israel for a preliminary investigation. So immediately we got to work preparing for her visit, and she finally came in February. We presented very similar evidence that we had shared in Geneva, along with other civil society organizations. So a few weeks later, she published report that validated everything we had been saying for months already.
So as one of the newer members of the team, and I was involved in this aspect of our work for several months, I really wish that our audience could understand the painstaking and the time-consuming work that's involved in preparing forensic evidence like this for senior United Nations officials. It's really important that our work is done carefully, that it carries credibility, and especially on such a sensitive topic. Can you explain why?
Yes, I think it's essential to our ability to continue advocating effectively on behalf of Israel and of Israeli civilians, that we don't exaggerate claims, that we don't inflate statistics, that we don't alter photographs or witness testimonies, because the truth is bad enough. And we stand by everything we have said and we presented on this topic. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's turn to the audience and consider some of their questions and their reactions to this documentary. If you're listening and you have a question, please go ahead and put it into the Q&A function. One question is, how did we get the video, and has the video been made public?
Yes, so the video is public, and we will send a link tomorrow for everybody that so you can share, watch it again, share with others. It's completely for public view.
Another question is whether this documentary they're asking, has it been released to the Israeli government? Yes, absolutely. The Israeli government officials have seen this. And Netanyahu is being accused of war crimes. That's, I think she's referring to the International Criminal Court charges against both Hamas and Israeli leadership. The question is, do they know about this documentary? I think the question, Lily, is do they, the ICC officials, know about this documentary? And they need to see this, to see the evil that first occurred. I'll take this question. I absolutely agree that they need to see it. JIJ has been pushing for the prosecutor of the ICC to issue warrants for the arrest of Hamas officials since 2017. Their human rights abuses did not begin on October 7th. We've sent countless and detailed reports and petitions to the Office of the Prosecutor outlining their use of torture, extrajudicial killings, the use of child soldiers, the abuse of their own civilians as human shields. And it's really regrettable that arrest warrants were not issued for Hamas leaders until now, because it's possible that if they had been issued earlier, maybe October 7th never would have happened, because there would have been stronger pressure on Hamas to stop doing what they're doing and potentially surrender and go into exile. Unfortunately, the prosecutor chose to delay the issuance of the warrants for Hamas leaders so that he could pair them with warrants for Israeli leaders, and on really trumped up charges. The charges against Israeli leadership are based on this crazy idea that the Israeli government has a state policy of starving Gazans, seemingly in ignorance of the fact that Israel has facilitated the entry of 400,000 tons of food aid into Gaza since October 7th. That's 30% more food going into Gaza since the war started than before the war began. So we will certainly be pushing and continue pushing with our connections to the Office of the Prosecutor to make sure that he's aware of evidence like this. I guess I could say I'm gratified that actually in his charges for the Hamas leadership, he did charge them for rape and sexual violence. So his office is not denying this reality. And I really think that his office on that point leans heavily on the Pramila Patton report that Flavia, that you mentioned earlier. To have a senior UN official come back from from meetings in Israel and say, yes, this is real, there's reasonable grounds to believe this actually happened. I would bet that most of the prosecutor's case on this topic relies on the evidence that she collected, which is something that we contributed to. So this is it's a bitter moment for us, because the Hamas warrants are something we've desperately wanted for years. But unfortunately, they're coming paired with a condemnation of Israeli officials, which we think is going to contribute to increased anti-Semitism and even more frequent and violent acts against Jewish people around the world. Anything you want to add on that point, Flavia, on the ICC?
I think that is very well said, and we will keep our work and bringing testimonies from more and more survivors to the ICC to make sure that their voice is not silenced anymore, and we want to empower them to be advocates for this tragedy, because it's important not just for us, an organization that stands for Israel. We stand for the victims, we stand for restitution and restoration, and we want this to be ongoing and heard, like we did today as well with this documentary.
And I want to say on the restitution piece, it's important for people to know that the combined net worth of Hamas's leadership is about $11 billion. That's money that they have stolen from donations that are ostensibly given in support of ordinary Palestinian people. So they scrape money off the top of that. They tax their own people. They also engage in all kinds of schemes around the world, and they get money from despotic regimes like Iran and Qatar and other countries. And they've accumulated vast fortunes. And that's money they stole from their own people. That's money they stole from, good-hearted people around the world. And we'd like to freeze it and seize it and get it into the hands of the survivors, because they have a very long and difficult journey in rebuilding their lives. So last question this is from Leslie. Would it be possible to have this documentary shown on large screens on college campuses all over the United States when the fall semester begins. It's certainly likely that the anti-Israel protests will begin again when school's back in session. These students, faculty, and other campus agitators should be made to watch this. What's your take on that, Flavia?
Yes, that's an excellent question, and my answer is absolutely possible. Definitely, we will do everything we can to spread it out, and you can do it yourself. As we say, it's public. You can share it if you have students that are that you know or are part of your family, and so on. We encouraged you to also be part of the advocacy of this bringing of stopping the silencing and be part of this important issue that we all have to move on and move forward and be always pushing forward.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank everyone for attending and for bearing witness along with us. We really appreciate your support in all of its forms, whether that's signing up for the newsletter at jij.org, signing our petitions, including our very important petition to the prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, or it's attending these webinars, spreading the word about our work to your family and friends. And of course, we rely on your generous donations to keep it all going. So please visit jij.org/donate so we can continue to equip you with tools like this very important documentary. So thank you again, everyone, and good night.
Good night.